17, I got really, really sick. At first, the symptoms were just mild, but as the weeks turned into months, I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So I went to the specialist, and the specialist did what specialists always do. He gave me drugs. And he said, if that doesn't work, it's going to have to do surgery. But the drugs weren't working. I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Got too sick to go to school, too sick to go outside. I got too sick to do anything. And that's when it happened. All I remember is everything went black. It was just blackness. Then I could hear like this muffled sound kind of in the distance. And as the sound got a little clearer, I realized it was somebody moaning in pain. And as it got a little more clearer, I realized that person was me moaning in pain. And then I could hear my mom frantically pounding on the bathroom door, yelling at me to open the door. And I stood up, and that's when I realized I went head first through the glass shower doors. I stood up, I had blood running down my chin. My parents took one look at me, threw me in the car, and they rushed me to University Hospital in London, Ontario. And that's where the story really begins. We get to the emergency room, and they checked me in right away. Started plugging me with needles, hooked me up to machines, giving me saline and other drugs, and started asking me questions. Questions like, have you been sexually active lately? I'm thinking, sexually active? I just passed out going to the bathroom. Ain't nobody want none of this. But I was 17 and, I knew everything, right? So all the doctors and nurses, they were gravely concerned with my well-being. Everybody was concerned except for me. See, I was only focused on two things, girls and partying with my friends. And I figured that I'm in the hospital, and that's where you go to get better, so I'm in good hands, man. There's nothing to worry about. But everybody was concerned. They were all worried. So after a couple of days went by, feeding me with hospital cuisine, poking me with needles, and doing all these tests, my parents started to tell me what I was up against. They told me that I had to have this surgery, but I was just too weak to have surgery right now, so they had to build me up. So I had to listen to the nurses and the doctors and do everything that they were telling me. But I really wasn't concerned because Sherlock Holmes over here was just being optimistic. I'm 17. I was only focused on two things, really partying with my friends for the May 2-4. And the reason why is because earlier that year, I had lost my virginity. But I knew I didn't do a very good job. But hey, Michael Jordan didn't make the team when he first tried out, so I knew what I had to do. I had to practice. Now, I'm not going to get any practice in a hospital, so I had to focus on partying with my friends. Now, the nurses and the doctors, they're all concerned, and I'm not really putting two and two together. I'm not seeing what the big deal is. So I'm not understanding when my friends start to come to visit me, and they don't really know what to say to me. And when I start telling them about partying for May 2-4, they're just looking at me like, yeah, right. And because I'm 17 and I know everything, I'm still not putting two and two together when the kids from my primary school start to come in to visit me. These are dudes I haven't seen since I was 10 years old. So I'm not understanding, but I think it was because the pharmaceuticals are pretty strong in the hospital. Ours pretty high. So I think I was the only person in the room that didn't really understand how the story was supposed to end. Now you think the alarms would have went off when the next guy came to visit me, because the next guy was the pastor from the church behind my house. But here's the catch. We don't go to church. He's not my pastor. My neighbors asked him to come and see me. So when he comes to see me, he asks me, if he could pray for me. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of weird. Never had anybody pray for me before, but go ahead, cowboy. But when he starts praying, he's not praying for me. He's praying for God to look after my soul when it gets to heaven. I'm thinking, whoa. My soul ain't going anywhere. We got practicing to do. Now, I don't know how long it was between the last people coming to see me to say their goodbyes and the surgeon coming to visit me, but I had this experience, and it was an out of out of my physical self experience. I got this message in my mind, and the message said, get your Meryl Streep's Samuel Jackson acting on, it's going to save your life. I'm thinking, what the hell does that mean? So the doctor comes in, he starts doing his inspection, and he's poking around my belly, and he gets to a certain point, and I start acting, oh man, that hurts, oh. And he's poking around again, and when he gets to that same point, I start doing my Meryl Streep's, oh man, that really hurts. But I couldn't really feel anything. I was high as Bob Marley. So he takes one look at me and he says, we're doing the surgery right now. All of a sudden there's a flurry of activity going on in that room. 2 nurses come in. The one says she's going to hold my arms while the other gives me the needle. I'm thinking, but you guys have been giving me needles all week. What do you got to hold my arms for? And the lady takes this big ass needle out, lifts it over her head and jams it into my leg. My whole body convulses, and I say every classic swear word I can think of, and a couple of new ones too. Next thing I know, I'm signing papers, waiving my rights to sue. I'm getting blood transfusions. My dad and mom are there. And my dad's, he's trying to hide his tears, and my mom is crying, and they're looking at me like they're never going to see me again. They wheel me off to the surgery room, and it's all bright and it's cold. And the lady says she's going to put this mask on me, and she's going to count from 10 to 1, and I'm going to go to sleep. I'm thinking, no, I'm scared as hell. I'm not sleeping through anything. She puts that mask on my face, and she started counting 10, 9. Everything went black. Next thing I remember is I was really, really cold. And as my senses started to come through, I feel like a really cold breeze downstairs. I lift up the blanket, I realize all I have on is a surgical gauze over my belly. I start to realize my boys are newborn baby bald. I didn't sign up for that. Why were they touching my boys? Those bad boys better still work because I got practicing to do. But I made it, I survived, I got through. And I know some people weren't that happy that I survived. And I know this is true because some people had to drive all the way to London, Ontario, they had to pay $1 million parking at the hospital, all for a false alarm. And I know that they were pissed off because I've never seen them again. But it's okay, because I made it through. And the reason I feel like I made it through is, one, I was really focused on partying with my friends and getting back to practicing. And the other thing was that I didn't really know how the story was supposed to end. I didn't know that I was dying. Nobody had actually told me how serious it really was. I didn't find out how serious it was until I was in recovery, and my mom started to tell me that if they had waited a couple of more hours, the surgery wasn't going to work, it was going to be too late. And the reason why I was never really focused on that is because I wasn't focused on what I was going through at the time. I was really more focused on where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And I've taken that and I've applied it to everything I do in life. So anytime I'm in a situation that sucks, anytime I'm in a situation I don't want to be in, I focus on the best outcome that I want, the most awesome outcome that I want. I don't worry about the what ifs, I don't worry about any of the other stuff. And I try not to focus too much energy on where I'm at, just where I want to be. And I really believe that that mindset, that viewpoint is what saved my life. Thank you.